This is Deborah Peters. Welcome to my podcast, Neuroscience for Success, and this new series, The Journey of the Mastery of Your Mind. I'm here today with my co-host, Richard Daniel Curtis, all the way from Southampton, UK. And absolutely delighted to have you join us. And we've got a doozy of a show for you guys today. So how you doing, Richard?
I'm great, thank you very much. Very nice day in the office, very successful. Although, I'll be honest with you, it's been a bit grey and drizzly here, but we've had a fantastic day in the office. Came home, spent a couple of hours with my son, and then obviously I'm now chatting to you, and before I go and have a family meal.
Yeah, and it's day end for you, and it's day beginning for me, because of course I'm in Los Angeles, and we're off to a really good day. I've got a speaking engagement this afternoon at a Catholic girls' school. I'm very excited about that.
Wow.
Yeah. They're having me come in and talk to the girls about, just owning your space in the world and just expanding yourself out to embrace all of you. And I'm on a career path, and I'm really excited about that.
And it's so powerful at that age. If you can catch them at that age, just when they're like, I would say they're just sprouts, just starting to emerge into their adult life. It's just such a powerful stage to get young people, and that's certainly. If I think about all of the different ages of people that I work with, that age, just kind of sort of mid to late teens, is just amazing.
Yeah, that's right. And so I've got grade 10, grade 11, and grade 12. And it was interesting because when they sent me sort of like the agenda, they were saying, can you talk about interning and these kinds of things? And I went, no, I can't talk about that, but I can talk about, getting in touch with who you are and owning that and taking that out into the world and carving out your space in the world unapologetically. Like, I can talk about that. So it's going to be a great afternoon. I'm thrilled to be doing this. Yeah, absolutely. So today, this is vlog/podcast number 2.
Yeah, and, number 2. This is now a series.
Here we go. So today, and this is where you and I work so well together, because just is what the watchers and the listeners, the viewers and the listeners don't know, is we had a little chit chat before we pushed go, and we were kind of sharing what we've been experiencing, and I'll let them tell you what you're going through, but what I'm experiencing right now is I'm reinventing my entire organization. And it's not the first time I've done this, won't be the last. I mean, the more we grow in consciousness and self-awareness, the more we need to continue to up-level our game. And so with this whole change process I'm going through, it's really, I'm really shifting in this understanding of we don't have to work all the time to get a result. And you're having an interesting experience. So why don't you, and then what it does is it creates sort of like this little like antithesis. Like I'm seeing it one way, you're seeing it another way, and both have value for the viewer. So
yeah, absolutely. So about a year ago, I started focusing more on developing training rather than providing consultancy, because when you're working as a consultant, I'm only working with 1 or 2, or sometimes when I do like surgery days in schools or in employers, then I'll maybe only see sort of 10 or 12 people a day. So it's not having that large an impact.
Right.
Now, one of the things that I'm very passionate about is having a global impact. And so what I did notice, going back over what's happened in our business over the last 3 years, is that our training is huge. It's become a really large part, and certainly last year it was a good third of our turnover. However, in terms of sustainability, it was way in excess, something like 10 times the amount of gross profit for our organisation. And in terms of impact, then the moment we do training, then by just training 20, 30 people in a room, actually the people that they go and work with, they're going to work with maybe as many as 40, 50 people at a time. So that
Yeah.
immediately scales up the impact. So I went through a very similar thing to what Deborah's going through now, um, a year ago, and I'm just coming through the other side. So I've spent the last year downsizing the consultancy. So I did have a team of consultants out there working for me, doing the Richard Curtis method of, out in schools and things like that. I've downsized that. I've really brought that back in. And we do, I'll only do one or two consultations at most a month. I'm really quite I'm going to say picky about who I choose to spend my time with, because you've only got 24 hours a day. And so I'd much rather invest that in developing and promoting our training products. So having spent the last year really kind of going through that reevaluation of our business goals, setting up new systems, putting in place new training programs. Actually, we're now starting to come through on the other side, and over the last week or so, we've really started to see a fantastic return on that investment of time and money that we've made. But it's taken a year to get there, and it's been really quite almost I would say almost quite headbanging at times. There have been times that I've honestly hit rock bottom over the past year. I could tell you about one of the stories that no doubt we'll share at some point is actually it got to the point where I was down to my last £5, and I actually gave that to a homeless man. I literally had no money at all, but that was so important because to me that was the most abundant I'd felt in a very long time, and that made me
Isn't that
so
always the way it goes?
yeah.
That's always the way it goes. It's like I can appreciate everything you're saying, and especially when the money kind of is showing that it's just not there. You really have to question your life and how you spend your time and what's important to you and who you spend that time with. Last September when I was over and did that workshop for British Marine and United Kingdom Trade and Investment Group in Southampton where we met, I said to myself, this is how I want to live. And I want to live like this all the time, where I'm able to be wherever I want to be, and I've got my laptop in front of me, and I can make a difference all over the world to game changers that are in their own right game changers, and they have a tribe. And so I made a decision. I was sitting in the hotel lounge, and I was, dropping my cards into my CRM because I met so many people. And while I was doing it, I said to myself, wait a minute, it's not something I want to do. I'm doing it. Here I am in another country, on another continent, with my laptop, running my business very, very well and impacting large groups of people all over the planet. There was like a lot of people that were in that workshop. And so it's not something I want to do. You have to be careful about your language patterns, because they create reality. And I said, I am doing this. Now it's about scaling this up. And so I set a goal for myself that by a certain time in 2017, I was going to have my business completely automated. And there you are, we're having this dialogue, it's no coincidence that you and I connect on this level. So right now I'm just, I feel your pain and I feel your joy because I'm in the process of wrapping up my first book. And as I was writing this chapter yesterday, and I was sharing some of my coaching experiences with companies that I've worked with around the world, and I was like, wow, look how much energy I put into this company, these people, to experience such a giving, because I just jump in and you say to me, okay, this is my goal. And I say to you, okay, then it's a done deal. Like, I don't mess around. You tell me you want to be in a certain place. I can show you how to engineer your organization so that you get to that place. But at the same time, it takes a lot of energy. And you know this from consulting, right? It takes a lot of energy, you know, psychic energy, because you're dealing with all of their limitations that they don't know how to face. You know, it's like change for some people. It's just like,
Well,
oh.
I've ended up with a whole new team. You know, I've had to go through a round of making people redundant, and also at the same time training up my new team. So I've got some people, you know, in the same office who are on their way out as the same time as I'm sat down having meetings and talking about the vision and the way forward for the new staff. You know, and you know, that part and parcel, I think, of the journey that we're on is that actually you're constantly evolving, and it's no different with the people that you work with. So many people, I hear business owners saying they've got the ideal team and they want to do everything that they can to keep hold of them, but actually it's only ever the business owner that's going to be the person that want, you know, that's there forever. You know, the others are there. I want to say transient. You know, they're there temporarily. They are transient, even if it is because they leave because of you know, family matters or even retirement. They're still transient in the business. Whereas as
Yeah,
the business owner, you're there for the business. It is very much your baby, and you're there, but for either for you know until you leave, either through death or through selling the business or through closing the business.
absolutely. You know, on that note, I think for viewers, what you can get out of this is it's okay to let go. I was in the chapter I was writing yesterday, I was referencing sort of like the industrial age thinking, where, you know, you hire someone and you expect them to be with you forever. And that is no longer the case. We're in the information age, moving into the time of the mind. People's consciousness is shifting rapidly. People are growing individually and collectively at warp speed. And so they're going to move on, and they're going to move on for a variety of reasons. Like they either can't hang because where you're going as a business owner is too rapid of a change process for their neurology, or they're going to take off because they have shifted their own consciousness and now they're being guided into a different place in their life. And the important thing is to not be in judgment about that and to be okay with being in flux, because people will come and people will go from your organization, and it doesn't mean you've done anything wrong. I remember one time I had a boyfriend that would brag about how, you know, 15 years later after high school, he still had all the same friends. And, you know, at first I kind of was like, well, there's something wrong with me because I don't. And then I looked at my life and my growth trajectory and I said, you know, yeah, of course I don't have the same friends. I've grown so much, you know, it's almost difficult to keep up with me sometimes. So good on you. You know, you're really moving through the process. This is phenomenal.
Definitely, and it's just so um, it's so important to let go. That's the biggest thing I've found about abundance and about flow over the last year, is that actually there are times that you have to push, and there always are going to be times that you push. But once you've pushed, that's then the time to stand back and let it happen. You put it out there. You have to push to put it out there. You know, that I'm gonna say that is a thing that, you know, that you do need to state your intention to the universe.
Yeah.
So you need to push in the first place. But then once you've pushed, once you've put it out there, then stand back and let it flow. Because actually, if you keep pushing, then all that's going to happen is your the people that could potentially you could partner with, or you could be working with, or you could be making new friends with, are actually going to be put off by the fact that you're constantly pushing. You come across as too needy almost.
Or you won't even notice them.
Mm.
So busy white knuckling it and pushing or efforting. I like to call it efforting. You know, I have this saying, like the only difference between hard work and struggle is limiting beliefs and negative emotions. because the tasking, like the process, is still the same. You know, you could do, as an entrepreneur, you could do like a 12-hour day, for example, or, you know, sometimes we knock out a 14-hour day, like if we got to get it done, right? So you can
Yeah.
go through that process with appreciation for what it is, or you could go at that process like it's, oh my God, I have to do this. And again, it comes down to the words and the language that we use. And those words and that language creates our perspective on what it is we're doing. So suddenly you can go from something that's very joyful and that you're loving to like, okay, I got to grind it out. It's the same work. It's the same steps. It's just an attitude. It's a perspective. And it becomes an energy that then engulfs, you know, the rest of your life. So it's all about how you look at it, you know, glass half empty, glass half full. Or the way I like to look at the glass is that it's perpetually filling.
Absolutely. Do you know what? I was listening to something earlier in a brilliant book by Dan Pink. It's Human to Sell. And he was
What's the last
talking,
name? What's the last name?
Daniel Pink. Pink,
Okay.
is their name. He was talking about people's sense of optimism and their outlook on situations, because what he said was there's an optimum point, and he shared the research that's been done into this. There's actually an optimum point of balance between positive and negative attitude towards things. Now, you can't be completely positive about things, because then you don't actually notice the things to pick up on. You kind of get too lost in the positivity. Actually, there are some things that we see that make us think and make us question in order to improve whatever we're doing.
Yeah.
However, likewise, if you're too negative, then what happens there is you get too caught up in that. And so he was talking about the optimum point, and the research that he was quoting was saying actually for every 3 parts of positive thinking, then you need 1 part of negative thinking. So it's a 3-to-1 ratio.
Interesting. That's very interesting. Yeah, and I can see where he's coming from with that. You know, if you don't ever look at the negative aspect of something, then you could actually be setting yourself up to be, you know, like someone's sponge where they can take advantage of you. So having that awareness and, but not getting stuck in it, you know, you can, it's good to be able to look at relationships, especially relationships. At the end of the day, really, that's all there is for us is relationships. It's the people that we surround ourselves with, whether they're our clients or whether they work for us or they're our joint venture partners or whatever the case is. Without relationships, your business can't be. You know, even if it's an online business, you're still having relationships. The customers are still buying your product or service, right?
Yeah.
On some level, there's a relationship. And so if you aren't able to observe, if we're going to call it the negative aspect of something or someone, then we would never really know when our boundaries are being crossed, or when, you know, they could be giving more of their best and we're accepting less, and then that cripples everyone. I mean, the list could go on and on around that. So I can appreciate where he's coming from with that. The important thing is that not to get stuck in that negativity, or also to avoid the generalization that if there's some negative performance or you know, communication skill or personality trait or whatever the case is about someone, don't let that block you from appreciating all of the good stuff about that person. And so you can observe without locking them into a generalized idea that they're not a good person just because they've got this element about them that needs perhaps an up level or an upgrade. And then you can focus on the aspects of them that you can appreciate. I remember, do you remember the movie Seabiscuit. Did you see that movie?
No.
Oh my gosh, it's a movie about a horse. It's a race horse, and the horse goes lame, and the trainer, this sort of codgy old guy, the trainer says to the owner, he goes, you know, you don't throw out the whole horse because you've got one little problem. You work on the problem and you appreciate the rest of the horse. And it's funny because that horse went on to win and become like a champion. And so I look at people like that too. It's like, okay, so maybe it's you're not working or we're not working together as a team in my company, but that doesn't mean that you wouldn't thrive somewhere else. How can I help you find where you would thrive? And that takes us out of that whole industrial age thinking, which is dying so rapidly. And I think that's where people are kind of getting tripped up. It's like, wait a minute, when I hear in conversation this concept of the millennials, you can't get them to work and you can't get them to stick around for very long. And I'm like, maybe we can learn something from that. Maybe we can learn that you don't have to kill yourself and skip lunch and skip holidays to thrive.
Yeah.
And maybe we can learn that you don't have to do the same thing for the rest of your life to be good. There's a lot of constructs that are breaking down. And so I'm glad that we're doing this vlog because I know that there's a lot of value here for folks.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think, in summary, that's a very good point to end. We've actually reached the 20-minute mark today.
I was feeling that. I'm like, wonder how long we've been on here.
So. Yeah. So I think actually that's a really good message to end on. That you don't always need to be pushing. You don't always need to be going. That actually, to use an old adverb, a rested field is the most fruitful.
Yeah, and it reminds me of back in the day I used to follow Deepak Chopra and go to his workshops and listen to his tapes. And boy, that's how long ago it was. They were tapes. And this was a concept that I got really loud and clear, and that is manifestation doesn't take place in the thinking about the thing. Manifestation takes place when it's the gap between the thoughts.
Yep.
So it's the gap between the thoughts where the thing manifests. And so you can equate that to any goal you have. We talked about this early on. It's like, to make the goal, set the intention, and then go do something else. So it has the gap to manifest in.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I love working with you. This is so awesome.
I know. Right. So shall we say goodbye to our lovely viewers and listeners?
Yes. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for telling your whole tribe about us. And we're just really grateful and appreciative that you've tuned in, and we are excited to see you again. So have a blessed evening and day. Look forward to seeing you soon. Take care. Bye.
Bye.